can never slip, I got amnesia. Yeah, I'm still awake, but my mind's dreaming. Success and power is all I'm seeing. Beats and feats is the only thing I'm eating.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Gary Fitness. Today I have a special guest with me, one of the bodybuilders in my gym, Heimerman. Figured I'd ask him a few different questions since he's on a lot of different kind of competitions and he's getting ready for his pro card, I believe, right?
Yes, sir.
So, Zach, tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into bodybuilding and stuff like that.
Well, to be honest, I've been lifting most of my life. When I was a young kid, I'd go to my dad to the YMCA. I was like 6 or 7 years old. I would be in there dinking around, having some fun, so they kicked me out because I was too young.
Yeah, I remember it was like 16 and up or something.
It is. I would sneak in there, do some, I think the leg press, hit some machines, and they kicked me out. I go to the basketball court. But, and then around 13 for football, I got into lifting, like on a serious regimen. And, a lot of bench pressing, squatting, stuff like that. And more sport related as opposed to bodybuilding, but I loved it. And I knew I loved it. And after football, after high school, I kept lifting, but I changed into more of a bodybuilding style regimen. The 5-day split with the arm days, the shoulder days, stuff like that. Something you don't do for football, but and then at a certain point, I started to develop really nicely, and people in the gym would ask me questions about lifting and stuff like that, and people would say, hey, like, do you compete, or are you going to compete, stuff like that. And I didn't think too much about it at first, but then I was like, if people are telling me I should compete, maybe I should just fucking do it. So I did a show, IMBF, Natural Federation, the Midwest Championships in Madison, Wisconsin. I took first place in the heavyweight class, and that was kind of when I was like, shit, this is pretty cool, this is pretty fun. And then I decided to go to the NPC the following year, competed in the Wisconsin State Championships, like the Mr. Wisconsin show, and I took first place in that show as well. Overall, first place overall, so Mr. Wisconsin. And I just, with the success that I've had with it, I've just fallen more and more in love with it, and I'm just going to keep going at it.
That's awesome. So, where would you want to take it to your career? Like, how did you know this was like what you wanted to do? What made you, I guess, change from football to bodybuilding? Where do you want to keep going and going? Where do you see yourself at in the next few years?
Well, I think I've had a lot of different thoughts about my future over the past couple of years. A couple years ago, I thought I was going to be like a doctor or something after college. And but once I don't know, at some point during the last couple of years, I just really fell in love with bodybuilding and competing. And I thought, shit, I know it's possible to make a lifestyle out of this and make a living off of this. I mean, sometimes the money in bodybuilding at first isn't always great, but you can always do personal training, stuff like that, to make some money too. So I thought, if I love this so much, like, why not just fucking go for it?
And that's something, I talk to a lot of people about it, it's not always about the money, and if you really love what you're doing, you can find a way to make money out of doing it,
Absolutely. And, I think anyone who's maybe tried this knows that at first there's not much money in bodybuilding. When you're competing in NPC shows, not making any money, spending tons of money on food and whatnot, there's not a lot of money.
Exactly.
But you gotta have faith that eventually one day you will be successful to the point where you can make money off this. If you believe in yourself, I believe in myself, and I think someday I'm going to make a living doing what I love.
And I think that's the kind of mindset you have to have. And that's the next question I was going to ask you is, what kind of mindset do you think you have to have? In this topic would be for bodybuilding, but for people who want to follow their passions and something they love in life, like what kind of mindset? Because I feel like it's almost like you have to have an obsession to be successful.
Absolutely.
In anything you love doing.
Absolutely. I mean, you just have to be completely obsessed with your end goal. I mean, everything you do, the reason you wake up in the morning, the reason you do whatever you do throughout the day, the reason it's what you're thinking about when you go to bed at night. You have to be absolutely fucking obsessed with getting to your end goal. And it's like a 24/7, 365-day-a-year mission. I mean, it's not like you don't put 40 hours a week into this. You put your whole fucking life into it. And I think that's what you got to do. I think if you actually put in that amount of work, most people, if not all people, can get to their goal. But the thing is, not so obsessed that they dedicate their whole life to something. But if you do, I think anyone can become a professional bodybuilder, whatever, actor, whatever you want to do. You know?
So would you ever say that the obsession becomes unhealthy? I mean, for me, I'm from just personal experiences because it's something I want to do with my life as well. It's just bodybuilding my life, and it's something I love. I want to turn into, quote, career and stuff like that. I feel like there's points where I just have to step back and just say, like, well, I'm too involved in it, and I'm not, like, stuff around me is just happening, and I'm not involved in that as well. So, like, and there's another video I did on that as well, but it's just like about balancing your life and also. Do you think there's a point where you're too obsessed, or do you think it's something that you just have to just be like total or nothing?
Yes, I do think there is a point where you can be too obsessed in the sense that, like, if you, you have to understand at the beginning, like, along with putting all this time into bodybuilding and your meals and lifting, you're also going to have to work, like, probably a full-time job on top of that to make enough money to do your shit. I mean, if you, like, just quit your whole life, you quit your job, you quit going to school, and just fucking sit in the gym all day and lift weights, and you think that's what's going to... I mean, you have to bring in enough money to...
Sorry guys, someone interrupted the video. So anyway, like, I was talking about the obsession and stuff like that. I know back in Philadelphia, I was an accountant, and it wasn't enough to feed myself, so I had to pick up a weekend job, and that was supplementing my diet. And it's almost the same thing here. It's just like you have to find multiple sources of income to feed your where you want to go in life, with what you're doing. Absolutely. It's always like your job has to be a focus, but it's just like what you love doing. It's always going to get to side focus until you get to that point. That's where it becomes something that paid and stuff like that. For a sponsorship or something like that.
And like I said, right now, you have to be making enough money to pay your bills and to be eating food and all that stuff. And if you just, like I said, you just quit everything to pursue your passion, like, that's...
unless you're saving money to do it.
If you won the fucking lottery or something, then sure. But if you are a normal person who has to pay bills and buy food, as much as tempting as it is, just quit everything and focus on your passion. You also have to make sure you're working enough to, and that's what makes it so hard, is that you have to have like this full-time job to make enough money, and then on top of your full-time job, you have to be doing all the stuff that you need to do to get to where you want to go, the lifting, the meal prepping, all that shit. So that's why it's such a hard lifestyle, especially at first, because you're working, you're doing all this shit, and you have to keep making that money to keep getting where you want to go.
Because I know a lot of times people always talk about having a backup plan or something like that doesn't work out, So like, how do you make sure you come into the gym and every set counts, every rep counts, like you focus? Like, how do you make sure you don't have bad gym days? Because I know we all have bad gym days, but like, how do you make sure? I know, especially since you're trying to go, to the top tier, like your pro card, and mentioned maybe the Olympia someday. How do you make sure like your mind's just there? Because I feel like a lot of people don't think mind is involved in bodybuilding, but I think if you don't have the right mindset, like it just doesn't work out,
I think the mind is like one of the most important things in bodybuilding. I think the mind and like hard work and dedication can trump genetics and trump other things like that. But I mean, I think you have to learn how to like just say, your life may be very stressful and you have a lot of shit going on, but you just need to learn to be able to take like 2 hours or an hour and a half of your day and just fucking focus. Like you're in the weight room, like nothing else fucking matters. You know what I mean? Like you have bills to pay, you have other shit going on, but for an hour and a half or 2 hours, just fucking forget about it. You know what I mean?
One thing I learned, I don't remember who it was, but someone mentioned about how when you're in the gym, none of that stuff should matter because you can't take care of it while you're in the gym.
Exactly. So, I mean, if you got, a bill coming up, you're not going to pay it while you're at the fucking gym anyway. Just forget about that shit. I mean, like I said, life is stressful, you got a lot of shit going on, everyone has shit going on, but for an hour and a half, just focus. I mean, dedicating an hour and a half of your day to that particular thing is going to help your long-term goals. So just do it. Don't let your fucking car payment, your rent, or whatever get in the way of giving 100% in your workouts.
Okay. So another thing I wanted to ask, someone asked me to ask you too, how does the bodybuilding competition tier work from starting out? Because I know, for example, I want to step on stage in my first show next year at Classic Physique in spring, just to give it a shot, have fun, try it out. But obviously I would want to place for it, So how does the tiers work? Like what kind of prepping and meals and cutting weight and stuff like that. Like how does that all work together?
So first, you have to start off doing either like a local or a district level show Those are shows that you can just enter without any kind of qualification. You just need to buy your NPC card, and then you can compete. Doesn't matter who you are, what you've done before that, you can compete in that. And you gotta make sure, I always tell people, don't rush into a competition, because if you rush into a competition before you're ready, and you don't place well, that just crushes your confidence for the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I said, I've placed first place in both of the competitions I've done so far, and that has boosted my confidence. But if you rush into a show, you really want to do it, but you're not ready, and you place, I don't know, 9th or something like that, and fuck this. And then that might quit. Exactly. So don't rush into it. Pick your show. If you think you're like not quite there, pick a show that's like a year from now.
And that's exactly what I decided to do. I know that there are people mentioning, Garrett, try a show, do a show, and I personally want to spend another year time developing my body, practicing posing, getting my diet where I need it to be. Absolutely. Everything I think is always like a constant change. It's always constantly growing and bettering yourself. But like with posing and like cutting weight and food and stuff like that, like how does that play out for you in shows like week to week to week?
So I mean, eventually you have to start really, I would say about 16 weeks out is when my diet starts getting really regimented, and I start counting every single macro and all that fun shit. And eventually you have to taper down, you have to cut down, you have to increase your cardio, taper down on your carbs, increase your protein and a little bit of fat. You have to basically just get as lean as fucking possible. As far as posing, you need to practice your posing all the time. Especially if you're doing open bodybuilding, especially, but just for any division, because you can show up with a great physique, great body, great conditioning, but if you can't pose, it's going to affect your placing. So I would say 16 weeks out, start really getting on your diet and start practicing posing at least once a week, but ideally more often than that. And you got to show up that, the NPC loves conditioning, so you got to show up lean, dry, and I think it is a good idea. I've never used a coach for any of my shows so far. I've had some people kind of give me pointers and stuff like that, but I think it is a good idea if you have the money to really hire someone who really knows what they're doing to help with your diet, to get you in condition, to posing, get your tanning, and help your peak week through like sodium intake, water intake, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Especially the last week before the show. So I would say get someone, either find a friend who will just give you some pointers who's competed before, or get a coach. I would highly recommend it.
Now another thing on the posing topic, someone else asked me to ask you as well, is does posing help develop muscle? And by that I mean, some people always say to when you're done working out, flex the muscle group you're training, practice posing to push more blood into it. But do you think that develops the muscle a little more in the long run? Do you think it's missed you on that?
I think that's a little bit overblown. I mean, when you're flexing the muscle, you want to kind of just doing like an isometric contraction, which can help squeeze some blood into there. I think you can maybe get a tiny bit of results from doing that. I always hear people say, posing, it hardens the body, or whatever, it increases muscle definition. And I don't know what happens in the body where just holding a pose makes your muscles look harder. I think that's a little bit exaggerated. But I mean, it's a good idea to pose and flex and hold, absolutely. But as far as like it literally making you look better, making you look harder, more defined, I think that is a little bit exaggerated.
Last question I wanted to ask was, I know you're going for your pro card, so can you talk a little bit about, how did you go from the show that you recently done to going for your pro card, and then after that, I think you mentioned is competing in the Olympia. So when you go in, what do you expect of yourself? What do you expect of the show? Because I know when you go in, you almost have to have the mindset of I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be the shit in this. I'm going to win this. But everyone's got that mindset. So how do you feel like you can overcome and win the show?
I mean, I think every show that I've done so far, and for this show too, months and months before the show, I envision myself up on the stage, at the finals, and I'm in the first call up. They call the top 5 names, and they call the 5th place, 4th place, 3rd place, 2nd place, and my name isn't shown up, and they call 1st place, and it's my name. And I go and I take the medal, I take the trophy. I have that vision of me winning, and it's just it's a mental thing. I just envision myself up there winning 1st place, you know, whatever. And this is going to be my first national show, and I don't want to say, okay, I'm for sure going to win, I'm going to take first place, because the competition is going to be like way more than anything I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm still having that vision where I win, but like, I have to understand this is my first national show. It's only my third show ever.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy at that point already,
Yeah.
So.
But I'm going into it with the best possible expectations, and then I want to win, obviously. I'm not going in to fucking lose.
Yeah.
Or even take second place. But I have to understand. I have to kind of like back myself up a little bit and say, hey, these guys. I'm probably going to be competing against guys who have been. This is like their 8th national show, and they're still going for the pro.
Yeah.
But they have been. I'm only 24. I might be going up against guys who are 32. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
and I spent more time in developing their bodies and
absolutely
understanding how the shows work.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just have to, I still want to go. I still want to win.
Yeah.
I still want to take first place. I still have that mental vision of it. But like I said, first national show. I'm just going to bring my best package. I'm going to go balls to the wall these last about 16 weeks right now. I'm just going to look the best I can look, and if the judges like it, that's great. If they don't like it as much as other guys, that's fine. But I'm just going to keep going. No matter what the result, I'm going to keep going.
I mean, it's something you love. And I think all failures lead to success. Because I think there have been points in my life where sometimes I was glad I didn't win, because from coming in second and third place, whether it be track or swimming or something like that, I learned something from it that I would not have learned if I won in first place.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I know you mentioned you did have a website. I know you have social media, so could you let us know what your website is? I know you said that you personal train as well.
Yep, I do offer personal training. I do contest prep. If you're looking to compete, no matter what division you are, I will prep you. My website is, hopefully I guess it'll be in the description, but it's www.heimermanfitness.com. My Instagram is Zheimerman. And yeah, so go check out the website. Like I said, you can inquire about personal training or contest prep, anything like that. So
Diet as well and everything.
I write out complete comprehensive training, diet, supplementation. I check in with you weekly, make changes every single week. Because if you're with a coach who's not updating your stuff weekly, you're wasting your money.
Yeah.
So updates weekly.
Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot for your time, Zach.
Yep.
Keep working out, guys. I hope this was very informative for you. Get Bear Fitness, check it out. Stay shredded. Actually, I was so mad that